What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now, today I've got for you 4 quality entitled people stories which you're going to love. So without further ado, prepare yourselves for some unbelievable entitled people action. Sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's go. He got arrested over a receipt. In my 20s, I worked for a very popular theme park in Florida. I worked quick service food at a resort one year. One day, I was placed in my favorite position, pizza back. Basically, I was responsible for making pizza, baked ziti, and breadsticks. The resort guests could call in special pizza orders, and guests could order pizza at the counter as well. Don't ask me why, but I rocked at this position. I was very quick and consistent, so I was often placed back there to my delight, as there was air conditioning and a walk-in fridge. Anyone who's done kitchen work knows how most professional kitchens feel as though they're bordering on hell's territory. I'm in the back keeping a steady pace when a tall man with light brown hair and a beer gut starts arguing with my co-worker Kira up front at Pizza Fronts. The man claims he'd been waiting for his pizza for 40 minutes. When a guest orders a pizza, they're given a copy of the order and a wireless pager that will go off when their pizza is ready. Since the pizza is the most expensive item on the menu, and there have been people attempting to claim multiple, it became policy to have the guest pay for the pizza first. Once the pager went off, bring it back with the receipt so we can then mark it and they receive their pizza. The receipt also has a time on it. Now Kira asks to see the man's receipt to check the time. He gets angry and yells at her. He screams that he wants his dang pizza. Kira became flustered and comes back there asking me where his pizza was. I told her that nobody waits 40 minutes when I'm back there and that his pizza would be ready when it's ready. She refused to go back up there because he was so rude, so I went instead. I asked him politely for his receipt as it had a timestamp. Sir, I say, I apologize for the wait. May I see your receipt, please? No? Why do I need to show my receipt? Sir, it's our policy to ask every guest for a receipt before they receive their pizza. That's bull. First, that woman asks, now are you accusing me of stealing a frickin' pizza? No, sir, it's our policy. Screw your policy. Give me my dang pizza. Kira then calls our small and adorable manager. I'll call her Rose. Rose comes up to the front and politely asks the man what's wrong. I've waited almost an hour for my dang pizza, and those 2 female dogs have enough nerve to ask for a dang receipt. Sir, please don't use harsh language towards our workers. Asking for a receipt is policy. I can use whatever language I want to. By this time, it's clear the man is possessed or drunk, so I call another manager. This manager, I'll call Antonio, comes out and joins Rose to figure out the situation. The man continues to cuss us out. He says that Kira and me are female dogs and he plans to get us fired. He also plans to get Rose and Antonio fired as well. Apparently, we're accusing him of stealing by asking for a receipt. He cussed more vulgarly and loudly. People are covering their children's ears or leaving at this point. The front desk staff looked dazed. 2 guys that were managers of the gift shop called security. Security shows up and takes over. Sir, are you a guest of this resort? Yeah, what about it? Well, we need to verify your identity. Can you show us your ID or room card, please? Good lord, it starts all over again. The man refuses and cusses the security out. He calls them fake cops and says they can't actually do anything to him. He's going to get all of us fired. The fake cops threaten to call Orange County Police if he doesn't comply. So he says, call Orange County. And guess what? They did. The man is then arrested in the middle of the food court. Once the cops show up, he miraculously calms down and shows his room ID. His wife and 8-year-old son were at the pool. A worker had to go and get her. She was a blonde woman and pretty. She walked in, looked at him, and walked back outside. She had an expression that said, I'm done. His face dropped as they walked him out in handcuffs. Due to policy, the whole family had to leave that day with no refund, and he was banned for life. They'd come there for their son's 8th birthday. Throughout all of this, it was kind of funny. Until that last line. That has just made it really quite sad. Okay, there we go for our first story. Now, interestingly, OP actually left a little edit at the end saying, for anyone wondering, the man, as we probably could have guessed, actually had a receipt crumpled in his pocket and he'd waited 10 minutes. My guess is that he was upset about something else and was just taking it out on the world. Well, that is normally what happens, to be fair. When someone really is unbelievably angry as in for no real reason and just really stressed and just horrible, it normally is a reflection of what's going on in their own life. But yeah, this is definitely not the first time this guy's done this based off his wife's response, and it just seems like a horrible bloke in general. As I said though, like, that last line is the sad line. I feel bad for his son. Like, his birthday's just been ruined because of his entitled dad. Oh well, 10 more years and then he can disown him, I suppose. I actually don't know at what age you can disown your parents, but hey, he's gonna have to wait a while. Now for our next entitled people story. Entitled couple's meltdown equals my luxury upgrade. Back in 2008, my partner and I took a gay cruise through South America. Picture this: 3 days in Rio during Carnival, a week of debauchery on the high seas, and wrapping up in fabulous Buenos Aires. Pure bliss. Well, mostly. Back then, the concept of a boatload of homos docking in port was breaking news in some places. Everyone was friendly, but I still felt like one misstep by any of us would be a permanent black mark on gays everywhere. The stakes were high. Now, my partner and I weren't exactly rolling in it. Inside cabin poor, but we splurged on a few nights at a nice hotel after the cruise. It turns out, so did half the queens on that ship. By 10 a.m, there was a line snaking out the lobby doors, all of us hungover and politely waiting for our turn to drop bags and wander off until check-in. Enter them. A couple behind us decided they were simply too important to wait. One of them had some VIP, ultra diamond, titanium, whatever status with the hotel, which supposedly came with early check-in. The clerk, who had the patience of a saint, explained that early check-in was based on availability, and at 10 a.m, there wasn't any. But these two, oh no, they lost their entitled minds. Voices were raised. The clerk's intelligence was questioned. Her English, which was impeccable but slightly accented, we were in Buenos Aires, was mocked. It was full Karen energy, but double-barrel gay edition. Security eventually stepped in. When it was finally our turn, I felt like I needed to make amends for the sins of our people. I apologized to the clerk, told her that nobody should be spoken to like that, and I casually mentioned how much we appreciated her professionalism. We had a lovely little chat about travel and the cruise, while she processed what I assumed was a placeholder for when check-in time rolled around. Except it wasn't. With a smile, she handed us 2 keys for a suite. A massive suite with a stunning view and rooftop pool access right down the hall. Enjoy your stay, she said with a wink. And enjoy we did. So, to the entitled queens who screamed their way into oblivion, gracias, darlings. That view was everything. Okay, now this story is just brilliant. Like, so good. So good. It's just great to see just entitled people getting calmer. That is pretty much what my channel was built on in the first place. And this story here is just a great reminder of that. Phenomenal scenes. And I'm gonna be honest, a gay cruise through South America sounds like so much fun. I mean, I'm not gay, sadly, but get me on there. I think I'd have a great time. Entitled Disney Mum cuts the line, so I get her and her kids kicked off the ride. Today, I visited Disney for the first time since I was 9 years old. Super fun day. Lines longer than I remember, but maybe I was just excited back then. My friend and I discovered the single rider lanes and took advantage of that due to the shorter wait times, and it didn't matter to us to ride separately. As we were waiting in that line, a family of 4, mum, 2 daughters and dad, walked through the middle of the line holding hands. Several people are disgruntled, asking what they're doing. The mum claims they forgot something on the ride. They make it to the part of the ride where single riders, fast pass riders, and the original line are all in a similar area. One of the ladies behind me screams, "What did you forget?" Everyone in the single rider lane is fuming as we all realize she's just waiting to get on the ride with her kids. They get shuffled into the pre-ride movie area before my friend and I. We're shocked that no one brought it to any of the staff's attention. Meanwhile, all the single riders are trauma bonding over this lady's boldness and entitlement. So, when my friend and I get shuffled into the pre-ride movie area, I tell one of the staff what the lady and her kids looked like and what she did. He says, at this point, since they're already in the line to board the car, he can't do much. We make it to the car boarding line, and lo and behold, there's the lady and her 2 kids. I stop yet another employee and explain the situation. She says she will let someone know, but walks in the opposite direction of the rider operators. Then, one of the kids runs up to a man directly behind my friend and me, pulls on his arm, and says, "Come on, Dad." We turn around, and the dad is behind us. He refuses to join his family, probably because he heard everyone in the line complaining about what they did. So everyone starts speaking louder. The whole line. What a terrible example to set for your children. What makes them feel so entitled? Everyone is waiting the same. Some people for hours. Why do they think they're special? Why lie to get what you want? The whole line is loudly speaking, so these people know exactly what we think of them. The dad continues to hang back and let people get in front of him as he hangs his head in shame, and his family inches closer to the front of the line. I had had enough at that point. I talked to the people in front of me and asked if I could go let the ride operators know what happened, because I'll be danged if they're getting on this ride. I asked the people in front of me to let me warn the ride operators, and they were all happy to step aside. The mum is blocking the walkway because they're next up. I tap her on her side and say, "Excuse me," and stare her down. She slides over without a word. I then tell the ride operator, "This lady and her 2 children cut the entire line through the single rider's line, claiming she forgot something. You can ask anyone in this line." She gives me the most evil, disgusted, shocked glare. I walk back to where my friend was, and another woman goes up to the line operator to verify my story. Disney mum is trying to say that both of us are lying, but then everyone in the line starts yelling and telling the same story, determined not to let her or her kids on the ride. They were eventually escorted out the side door, and everyone in the line genuinely clapped. Oh, I mean, these are just the worst sort of people, line cutters. I don't really know why that they feel entitled to do this. Like, literally, this is the number one sort of example of everyone is in the exact same boat, right? I mean, everyone knows how queues work. Everyone knows that at Disney, a lot of the time queues are pretty ridiculous, but everyone sort of accepts that. That is Disneyland or Disney World. And you're all in it together. Like, you're all going to get on the ride, don't worry. Everyone knows it's going to take ages, but that's it. Now, yes, if you're a single rider, that's part of the point. You go much quicker. If you're in the, what's it called, like the quick pass lane, whatever it is, I've forgotten what it's called. You'll let me know in the comments down below. You also go quicker, but that's fine because you've paid for that or you're going on your own. Whereas this is just a disgrace and is obviously going to annoy lots and lots of people that are, acting within the rules. Why do this? Surely, I mean, this is the thing that I always say actually on these stories is that if you have any morals, you just wouldn't do this. But then again, these people have no morals, which is why they do it in the first place. Because I'm thinking about myself, like I wouldn't be able to live with people shouting at me or just knowing that I'm cutting them in line, but then I wouldn't do it because I'm that sort of person. Whereas, well, a normal person, whereas this person is just disgusting, obviously. Respect to her husband, although if my wife was doing this, I just couldn't be with her. Genuinely, that would be enough to not be with somebody if they were that impolite, because it's just so ignorant and rude and just so disrespectful and obviously entitled, thinking you're above everyone else. So it says a lot about a person that they do something like this, and I agree. Like, what sort of example is this to set for your kids? Now for our final entitled people story of this episode. Co-worker fancies herself my mum. Quits when I correct her delusion. When I, 38 years old, non-binary, was in my early 30s, I used to work in the office of an apartment complex for university students. Our front office staff had a ridiculous turnover rate, to the point that for over half my 4 years there, I was the only full-time front staff. Management hired a new full-time person, Emily. Emily was a few years younger than me, multilingual, had a degree in hospitality and sales, and had just moved to my state. 2 important things about me. My mum had recently passed away, and I am overweight. Part of my job involved lots of lifting and carrying heavy packages up the long, steep hill that our complex was situated over, so I'm fairly muscular and rather fit under my extra fluff, which I'm very proud of. By contrast, my mum never got above 110 pounds in her whole life. She meant well, but almost 30 years of her picking at me about my weight had made it a sore subject. Things went well for a while, and then Emily's obsession with healthy eating started. I mentioned a restaurant, and she pulled up a menu to tell me what to order with a comment about being my mum now. I shut it down and told her about the loss of my family. She brought meals for me and then got offended I didn't want them. She saw my soda and told me not to drink those anymore. Not recommended, she told me. I had a snack and she opened a bag of trail mix and crossed to my desk with her. I saw what was about to happen in slow motion. I flung both hands over my snack to shield my food, and she upended the entire bag onto my plate. I don't even like nuts, so I had to throw the whole thing away. I told her several times to stop. She apologized, but didn't change the behavior. I involved management, and they said she was just being friendly. This went on for at least 6 months. Then came the final straw. I don't remember what brought it up, but she was talking to a resident, glanced across at me, and chirped, "I'm teaching her to be healthy." Now ignore the misgendering here, which I also talked to her about repeatedly. I'm non-binary, and I use they/them. I'm like her mum. I saw red. Usually I would have waited for the resident to leave and addressed her patiently in private again. This time though, I couldn't. It was one pick too many, not least of all because she didn't even address the comment to me, but about me to one of our residents. I snapped. I pushed out of my desk and I said something to the effect of, "I had a mum, she's dead, and you're not her. Stop trying to act like it." The entire climate of the office changed. Emily stopped talking to me and eventually quit, which I still feel bad about, but only a little. Management froze me out for making the workplace hostile, and I quit myself not long after, and I'm much happier where I am now. I mean, you definitely shouldn't feel bad about Emily quitting there, because she's just a terrible person. Like, what is she doing? And also, I guess in that one moment you made the workplace hostile, but surely there's enough context there, and you've had these discussions with HR management before, so they know what's going on, for them to then come back and say, "Okay, look, we'd much rather you didn't do this, but we understand why you did it, and we can make an exception this time. Emily is going to be let go, and you can have a warning," rather than you getting frozen out for making the workplace hostile. What are you supposed to do then? Just allow someone to just bully you in the workplace? Surely not. That's insane. And I get it. Like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done it. In a perfect world, you wouldn't have done it in front of a resident, but also who cares? Like, you've got to stand up for yourself at some point. But good on you for quitting, and I'm happy that, yeah, you're happier now. But Jesus, again, I don't know why I'm always surprised here, but what a terrible person. Someone actually says in the comments, "You were not the one who made the workplace hostile. Somebody in management was friends with Emily and protected her when they should have given her the consequences of being disgustingly horrible. Body shaming, bullying, contaminating food," which is another point. I mean, imagine if you were allergic to nuts. I thought about that when I was reading this. Goodness me. But yeah, maybe that is what happened. Maybe someone in management was mates with Emily, and it's a shame, but again, it's probably a good thing you got out of that work environment. There we go. That's it. That's going to do it for this one. Goodness me. I mean, this is a thing. I've not been on Entitled Parents, Entitled People for a while. Sometimes I forget how just ridiculously, I want to say a stronger word here, but it's probably against YouTube TOS and Spotify TOS and Podcast TOS, so I'm not going to. But you can use your imagination as to what word I wanted to use there. Silly, dumb, stupid, etc. Some people are. Comment down below, which story was your favourite? Which entitled person was the most idiotic? And I'll catch you all on the next one.